Welcome to Bachelorette,
a podcast so educational it could be a university class.
With your hosts,
Danielle Dick McHugh,
Kim Hannah,
and Bill Henninger.
Welcome back. We're here. And Bill, how have you been?
I'm good. I am I'm trying to get my computer to work. I am great. Let me retry that. I am wonderful. I'm ready to go. I feel like 2 Bachelorettes I'm really going to thrive this season in my love of just people crying and chaos. And yeah.
I do think it's going to be a chaotic season.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
It was really fun to get to watch with you all again last night.
Yeah.
It was like the perfect summer night because I went and I, hung out with you all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got back and my kids were outside chasing fireflies.
Ooh, nice.
And we decided to turn on a fire pit and roast some marshmallows, which I couldn't eat though because Kim made us an amazing cake.
Oh, it was good.
Very filling. And so I just watched people, but like it was like such a nice night. I was like Friends, The Bachelorette, fireflies and fire pits. This is the life, folks.
When I got up this morning for breakfast, that piece of cake was staring me in the face that she left us. I was like, better not.
Does it fit your macros?
Yeah, I know. That will blow your sugar macro out of I don't think sugar's a macro, but
oh, that's awesome. So my question for the week is, do you have any fun summer rituals?
I usually backpack somewhere every summer. And so I did North Shores in Michigan, and then I'm going to do Gunsight Pass with my dad for his retirement. And then every other year we go to Edisto in South Carolina with Elaine's family. Other than that, I just try to duck a lot of work. That's usually my go-to for the whole summer, is just try to minimize as much, or I really go in, I'm much better for whatever reason. I have it in my mind, even though my new position, I'm kind of expected to be there, but I've always been really good in the summer. I'm like, all right, I'm going in at 8:30 and with God as my witness, I will be out by 11. And so it's like, I get so much done in that. Like, I feel like if during the academic year, if I treated my schedule like that, I would spend so much less time, because there it's like, well, I have to be here till 5. I have this meeting at 3. Like, I'm going to screw around on social media. Like, I'm going to go bother someone down the hall, where in the summer, no one's around except me. And I'm just like, answer all these emails. You can attest, yesterday, I got like a bunch of stuff for the podcast done in like 40 minutes.
Oh yeah, Bill was on fire yesterday. He was making things happen. Today is happening. This recording is happening all because of Bill.
That's solely because of the 40 minutes I took yesterday to set stuff up.
Hey, it's important work. Yeah, we like to make a summer bucket list. And so some of the things on our bucket list for this summer is we're going to go to the pool 25 times. We're almost there. I think we're like at like almost 18.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we are going to go around the lazy river 56 times.
Wow.
So we're a little behind on that goal. So lots of lazy river is in our future.
Y'all been to Adventureland like 14 times or something like that. I made that number up. I don't think it's that.
We've been twice, but we're going for a third time on Thursday.
How many times have you cried at the circus at Adventureland?
Twice, and I'm gonna bring it in for a third time.
You're completing the trilogy.
It's so good, y'all. The Adventureland in Altoona, Iowa has a circus, and I'm a big fan.
And if you're from Iowa, you've probably been to Adventureland, and you can probably sing the theme song in your head.
You also probably understand how hilarious it is that I'm so excited about it.
Yes. And go ahead.
I've really branched out the last couple of years. I'm like terrified of roller coasters. I feel like I'm gonna die every time I go on a roller coaster. But I am trying to say yes to things that scare me, and I'm getting a lot braver at amusement parks. I can do spinny things pretty well. Spinny things I can handle.
My favorite was the silly silo
Oh
where
yeah.
the floor would drop.
Yeah, they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I heard. I love, yeah, like I know some people can't do it because it makes them dizzy, but I love spinning rides.
Yeah, I do too. Ryan is good at dropping. He likes to drop.
Oh,
I think is terrifying.
like the
So
death drop where they like
oh,
shoot you up and then like.
oh yeah. He just so Waterloo just opened up a new amusement park called Lost Island, and
Yeah.
Ryan and I went there for it was our anniversary. Kind of fun. So last year we went to the water park, just the two of us, and it was great. And so this year we went to the amusement park, and it's new and people don't really know about it yet. So it's not very like there were no lines. It was amazing.
Supposedly it's really good though, right? Like really nice.
I think like the concept of it, it's like
Mhm.
beautiful park. There's like 4 different realms. I think the concepts are super cool. There's a nice variety of types of rides,
Mm.
but I will say I think that it still needs like a really big like thriller
Uh,
roller coaster.
the
So there is
boomerang, the
one.
dragon, the death drop.
Yes. Like I went on it, the roller coaster, and I didn't really like it very much.
Mm.
And I
Okay.
people that are roller coaster people haven't liked it that much. So
Okay.
I don't know. I think that they kind of need to get that down. But there is like this really fun ride. It looked like a roller coaster that like stopped. It like had like a bump. You go up and then you
Uh-huh.
go back down, and then you're on a spinny thing. And
Oh.
that thing was cool. I enjoyed that. I made Ryan want to puke, but I had a blast.
Have you ever been on the ones they call them the boomerang, where you go forward and then you hit the end and you go backwards?
Ooh, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know. I
think
haven't.
Worlds of Fun in Kansas City has one. It's pretty good. Yeah.
I think I'd maybe like that. I don't like the falling sensation very much.
Mm.
Um, so yeah. So I mean, like we're kind of pool people, and we're kind of, we like the water parks, we like pools, which I know Bill does not like.
Oh, my hell is Pizza Ranch catering at a pool with a bunch of kids.
So why do you dislike pools?
There's
We'll
just
talk
too
about
many,
the
just
Bachelorette. I
too
swear.
many people there. I really
The
like to swim. I love swimming. Uh,
okay.
but it's just like the humanity. I just can't handle it.
I think water calms me,
Hmm.
and I leave my cell phone at home whenever I'm around pools. And so one, I realize I've been really antisocial this summer because I plan things by texting, and like I
Hmm.
text y'all a lot. I've hardly been texting because I leave my phone whenever we go to the pool. But it's like really calming for me to both be around water and to like be unplugged.
Mm.
And so, I think that that's part of why I like pools so much.
I like the beach. Like I feel like the beach you can just like kind of like stake out your spot and be like no, where like the pool there's some kid like running by your chair and I just yeah.
I also don't like being cold, so I'm kind
Oh,
of picky. I mean, you can't really wear a cardigan in the pool. I try.
they're
So
very
like
absorbent.
I need the pool to be warm. And
Uh,
I love beaches. Like,
mm.
yeah.
Well, I didn't
So
have any of this on my bingo card that we were going to talk about today, so
yeah, and we had no idea. Well, so we should probably talk a little bit about this awesome season of
yes,
The
let's
Bachelorette.
go. Let's get
All
it.
right. So 2 women, 32 men, 1 hot season of The Bachelorette.
Boom.
Boom. So last night, we are introduced to Gabby and Nicole again. Just as a recap, Gabby is an ICU nurse, a former NFL cheerleader. She's pretty hilarious, and I think she's totally going to upstage Nicole. Nicole is a pilot instructor. She's
Mhm.
pretty sweet, but she's also kind of boring. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So they both say that they feel ready for this because I quote, they know what they're looking for. But then they sat down to discuss what type that each of them have. and they were both vague and contradictory. They're like,
Yes.
I like someone that's smart but also dumb. It was funny. They're like, I like someone that's tall, but like I'll date the short ones too. And I was also like, I don't know if like you being ready for marriage, like naming their height is like really the thing that shows me that you're ready.
Yeah, they had like all the things they wanted were the things that like I think everybody wants in a significant other. Like they need to be funny and smart and nice. And it's like I just don't know if there's anyone in the world that's like, I want a really dumb person who is very dry, no jokes, and is just an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like those are my three must-haves. Anything else, short, tall, bad breath, whatever. But they got to be a real dick. They got to just not get jokes, and really that's part of being dumb, right? So they go hand in hand, right?
I think I would have liked that. At least it would have been specific. So, as per usual, the 32 men enter and then introduce themselves to the bachelorettes. I think that this is a little bit more awkward with the two of them.
Oh,
On one hand, I love their banter, but like the introductions to actual guys, I felt like, it was like, should I hug one of them? Who do I hug first? Should we go in for a group hug? Who do I make eye contact with? So I felt like, well, and they're trying to compliment them, but it's like, well, do you hit them on them both at once? I don't know. It was really awkward. We do still get some bizarre entrances. So let's see. We have the guy that wore no shoes, no shirt on a horse, a meatball sub.
Meatball guy.
I saw like a funny like meme that was like what women think they want, and it was the picture of like Fabio,
the guy on the horse,
and it was like what women really want, and it was like the giant sub.
Here's my problem. Yeah, we'll talk about the entrances later. Keep going.
So a guy brought baby chicks that our watch party was very concerned about, like, what's gonna happen to these chicks, who's taking care of them. And then we had a very awkward, though I think fairly talented magician. So we had some conversations about like the allure of a magician. And I think
Kim is a hard pass on the magician. Like she gets like visibly irritated every time he came on screen.
So I appreciate magicians. As a performance scholar, I appreciate the performance skill of a musician.
Oh, you went real academic douche on that. Like you don't understand, okay?
It's like, oh, like well, like I've also been to 2 WrestleManias because I like what they do with lights and costumes. So like this is in the realm of that. I cry at the circus, right? It's because I appreciate the aesthetics. I will say, as like probably a 5th grader, I was pretty sure that like learning a couple magic tricks was the way to attract the opposite sex. So maybe there's just like a part of me that empathizes, like, oh, he made it to like 30, and he still hasn't learned that this isn't what gets you laid.
I remember the kid in my high school who was really into magic all the way up into high school, and he's still living with his mom.
Oh, it was so sad. So after the introductions, they're given time to introduce themselves to the bachelorettes. And after realizing that 2-on-1s is kind of awkward and not very intimate, Nicole and Gabby do decide to venture off on their own to talk to the men. They're both kind of complaining because they're not being made out with enough.
Right.
And so we do finally, though, they each get their first kiss. I think Nicole makes out with one person and Gabby makes out with 2 people.
2-1.
Yeah.
Keeping score.
We're keeping score.
All season.
All season. Bill's he's got the tabs.
Yep.
at the end of the night, they both realize that they have no idea how they're going to handle rose ceremonies. Apparently, like, the show has like never talked to them about this, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I also just like, they're like, well, you know, like, you do what you want, and I'm like, are you trying to create this like illusion
Yeah,
that like they get to
Yeah.
have control over this? Because based on the previews, it seems like the producers take charge a little bit later on.
yeah.
But so ultimately they decide that the twins and the magician don't have any potential. And so they awkwardly say thanks, but like, bye. And then, like, you know, Gabby's like, this is the hard part of being a bachelorette. Like, you have to send people home. You know? And then we get, you know, our previews for next
The
week.
three poor guys looked like the three guys who couldn't get a date to prom. They're like, we're going as friends. Like when they sent him home, it's the magician's got kind of long hair. The two twins are kind of like tinier little guys, and they just like skulk off in their tuxedos. And
it was utterly unsurprising. The only thing that maybe surprised me was that they didn't send more people home.
yes. So now they're down to 29. Right?
Yeah.
Did that math in my head, Rain Man style.
Look at you. You know, I was reading. I'm interested to see, because they're kind of playing up that this is the most men that we've ever had, but there are 2 bachelorettes, and apparently it's only 2 more men than Hannah B's season.
Right. Yeah. Because she had 30. So if
And
you're going by man per woman, it's the lowest amount of men if you're going by ratios.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see sort of how that plays out. So we kind of have 3 things that we're gonna cover in the podcast today. We're gonna give you.
You got really formal there. I like it.
It's Danielle snuck into public speaking mode.
Yes.
Right. I'm like, I will preview my main point.
Yes. Well, you don't want to just like slap the audience in the face. You want to foreshadow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So here, if you're taking notes, this will make it easy for you to outline. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we think has potential and who's just some losers. We're going to talk about kissing. We're going to talk about friendship and love competition. And, you know, those are your 3 main points, folks.
3 main points.
Yes, 3 main points.
Bing, bang, bang. Write them down, A, B, C. Then when you do your outline next, you know, we'll have subpoints.
Using Roman numeral after that.
Did I ever tell you the church I went to? We had a class when we were in junior high where they made us sit down and take notes on sermons, and they explained to us how to use outlining as part of the. Yeah.
That's a very educational church experience. You like, not only do you get saved by God, but you also learn how to outline and take notes.
Neither for me. Now it's like I do it the exact, just because I'm still so mad. Someone was like, sit down. We're going to talk about the apocalypse.
Oh, I have fond memories of church because I got to eat Oreo cookies during it.
We had different church experiences.
I couldn't wear tank tops because my shoulders are too sexy, but I got to eat Oreos. So we're all good.
That's why I never wear tank tops. I'm worried about the sex appeal that I would give off with my shoulders.
That's probably why you don't like pools.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Entrances. Dude.
Okay. So who gave you no advice? Who has some potential? I wrote down some people.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So Jordan V, the race car driver.
He was creepily into race cars. Like there are several times where she was trying to like have a conversation. He'd be like, it's a 340 horsepower. Like, and then he's like, it's very big. It's like, oh, buddy.
I thought that he was adorably young. Like he kind of looks young. I don't have his age on my notes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he just got nervous. Like, because you thought that he might go in for a kiss, and he's like, I'm nervous. Let me just spout out some facts about a race car.
Torque ratio.
But I do think that he made a good impression on Nicole, and they have some similar interests that I could see them connecting, but I also think that she might go for somebody that's hotter to her. And not that I didn't think he was bad looking or anything, but I just, yeah.
You know what really signifies maturity is understanding that stuff like that no one else cares about but you do. You start to use it to end conversations, which is where I've come to in my life. It's like I know I have this wheelhouse of things that people are like, oh, for fuck's sake, Bill's talking about it again. So it's like when I want to end a conversation, it's actually the Bachelorette. I'll be like, so this week on the Bachelorette, and unless it's you or Kim or two other people, basically everybody at the university is like, oh God, he's talking again. Get him out of here.
I was gonna say this is like how we became friends because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I tried to end a conversation with Danielle and instead you just kept talking to me about it. And 3 years later, we're still friends.
Episode 67.
I love it. So somebody that does have sex appeal for Rachel is Tino.
Okay. So I'm on the Tino train. Only thing I have to say is I read his bio and he says 90% of what he eats is meat. And I want to point it out there. I feel like that's a red flag in men. Like if they only eat meat, because it's like fine, meat, whatever, but like, don't you want like experience? Like, don't you want to go out to eat and like eat at different restaurants? You don't want the guy to be like, I only want steak. That's all I'll eat,
I mean, I just don't think that it's an economically savvy decision right now. Meat is very expensive.
Yeah.
And I think of Gaston and him singing about all of the eggs that he eats.
8 dozen eggs. He's roughly the size of a barge.
So so one, I know that Nicole's super into Tino, so like I support this. Aesthetically, I don't find him that attractive. He's kind of like a combination of Blake Horsterman and Jason Tarek, who I find both of them attractive, but combined they make Tino, and I don't know that I quite get the appeal.
Yeah,
but Nicole does, and so go get it, girl. All right, meatball guy James.
I got questions about him. Who brings a meatball sub that doesn't have provolone or sauce on it? I mean, if you're gonna commit to the gag, right?
I mean, I do appreciate that he brought food.
But like bring food. Don't bring a dry bun and a dry meatball. Like
bring good food.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you can't. Don't cut him short. Okay, let's talk about Eric. The first thing we need to talk about is how he spells his name.
Is he mullet guy?
Yeah, he's mullet guy. Yeah. That's also like, questionable. But he also spells his name with a CH.
I think just to get under his skin, I'd call him Eric while I was there.
I do like, I will say I kind of liked the banter between him and Gabby.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I felt there's like good vibes there. I want to talk about him a little bit later.
Sometimes I worry with people who have banter like that it's very exciting to have somebody who like on that like wittiness level you get, but there's nothing past it. And so I just wonder if Gabby's going to realize that like that's all there is this kind of like quippy, which is fine for a good friend, but I don't think that's what you want to base a whole romance on.
See, that's how I felt about her and Ryan, who's the Boston guy.
Ah, yeah.
In here, where they had that like banter and they were kind of like teasing each other and he was like writing the phrases. I appreciated that, but I was getting like maybe you're just friend vibes, where with Eric, I felt there was some chemistry.
Yes. Yeah, I put Eric above Ryan.
Absolutely.
I also didn't appreciate that Ryan kept shushing her. Like, as a person who doesn't like to be shushed, and I just gotta imagine that, like, a woman specifically does not appreciate guys being like, shh, 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 shh.
Well, I think he did it because she was kind of like, I think he's like, I have this plan.
Right.
I'm gonna do this thing, and then she kind of like kept poking at him.
Right.
And like then he kind of poked back, but you're right, it rubbed me a little wrong too.
I feel like poking back is okay. It's the shushing. Like for me, it's one thing to be witty back. When you just tell someone to stop talking, that's where in my mind you cross a line.
Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable.
In some alternate universe, if any of our listeners end up on a date with me, you shush me and it's done. I'm up on the table and you're paying for my food. And I have likely ordered meat. That's 90% of me. Steak with steak sauce. Made out of steak. Steak potato.
So what did you think about Mario? He kissed Gabby and he was her first impression rose.
I like Mario.
I liked Mario, but I was a little surprised that he was her first impression rose.
Really?
They had kind of a weird kiss. We can talk about that later, but yeah.
I think they were the women were kiss hungry, and Mario went full Pete Davidson, and he texts back real quick. Like he was the guy who went at it, and it's like, get in there. It's the new person that comes to the high school and somebody jumps on him and dates him for the whole time they're at the high school because they just are like, oh, I guess I'm with them. I think Mario did himself a solid there.
He did. Yeah. I do think that was a bold and important move.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts about Jordan H? He's the one that put the noise canceling headphones on.
So I didn't, if you recall, I'm watching my parents' dog right now, and that was when Zoe needed to go out to the bathroom. So I saw the headphones. I didn't hear what he said.
Well, what he was doing.
And did he do them on both women?
Yes, he was doing it so that he could give them each attention to each other at once, and that they wouldn't have to overhear. And I thought that was kind of like the guy, and I don't remember his name, that had the stools for them, the chairs. Yes. Yep. I thought this thing that sort of recognized, I get that you're both here and they're both a bachelorette, but I want to do something that kind of lets you have your own moment was really nice. And just thinking about that they might have been standing for a long time in uncomfortable shoes and bringing them chairs is just a nice gesture.
I would have given him one of my articles I've written to read while I talked to the other one, and then I would have swapped it out and been like, this is important reading, guys. You need to know about latent growth curve analysis and development of children. So just
that's Bill's move, and I'm over here trying to do a magic trick I learned in 3rd grade.
Yeah. I tell you what, latent growth curve analysis is an aphrodisiac. Everybody knows. It's basically like clams or oysters, whichever one it is.
Oysters, I think.
It's outlawed in some states because it's just such a turn on.
Speaking of turn-ons, what do you think about Quincy coming right out with I've been celibate for a year and a half?
Okay, so here's my question. When he says celibate, because you can be a virgin, right? You can be celibate, which means you don't masturbate. But sometimes I think they use him. I think he just means he hasn't had sex, right?
Yes, I took it to mean that he had not had sex in a year and a half.
Because when I heard it, I thought he meant no self-pleasuring, and it's they're gonna like a warm breeze, and he's gonna be like, oh God, oh no,
I felt I think Gabby puked in her mouth a little bit when he said it. I think Gabby was yeah, nope.
I very much appreciated. Go ahead.
I think the only reason he didn't leave with the magician and the twins was because Nicole was oh, I think he's sweet.
Yeah. But I appreciated that when he walked off. Gabby was like, well, when he said, I haven't had sex for a year and a half, I was like, well, that's one of us.
Yes. I don't know. These girls are not quite like Hannah B.
Yes.
In terms of how they're embracing their sexuality, but they're here to have fun. Mm-hmm. And so I don't really see Quincy lasting for that long. Okay, let's talk about Jacob, the shirtless horse guy. I think he has a really dumb mouth.
He does. I agreed. When you said it, I knew what you meant. It's almost always open. It's
I don't know. I don't know. Which is a bummer because the shirtless horse thing, as someone who likes cheesy romance novels, I was okay, I could come to appreciate this.
Go ahead.
But yeah.
Hear me out.
Okay.
I'm not that impressed. Everybody on there could have ridden that horse in with their great body. I want someone 20 pounds overweight that rides up in the jeans, like stomach hanging over, not waxed, like just lots of hair on the back. Like that is where you get my respect. Like you just jump down and like, yeah, what do you see? What do you like?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he's just a dime a dozen. Like all of those guys would look great shirtless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, for me, it wasn't that he was shirtless. It was the way that he was like giving a nod towards like
The
Rogan.
Fabio hair really hammered it home. I think that's probably what made it worthwhile.
Yeah. Are there other people that you wanted to like discuss? Those were the ones that really stood out to me.
No, I think you got all the people that stood out, and then the magician, and I just thought he was a little slice of heaven for me. Like
His voice, like his
Yeah.
magic voice that he talked
Yeah.
in all the time was so wonderful. A kind of, I think, a fairly attractive guy. If you
Yeah.
didn't have to deal with the way he moves.
Who's the one guy? There was one guy that's got kind of buggy eyes. I don't know of a better way to say that. You go on to the next thing and I'll yell his name out interrupting you. It'll be fun.
And then I'll shush you.
Yeah. And then that'll be the last episode we ever have. Let me see here. I'm gonna find him. Go to the next thing. I got it.
All right, so I wanted to talk about kissing. So Mario and Gabby kiss, Tino and Nicole kiss, Eric kisses Gabby. Okay, so one, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit and go back to Eric because when he came on, he was the
Logan.
Logan. Okay. Tell me about Logan.
Logan's lifelong crush is Elaine from Seinfeld. He isn't afraid to skinny dip and he loves corn dogs.
Okay.
He didn't really do, he just kind of came in. Yeah. But I think they were Gabby was pretty attracted to him. I felt like I could see a spark.
Okay, well, we'll have to like note Logan.
I think he's an under the radar guy. He's that guy that's not like the most attractive, but he's good looking and he's like he can converse and he's going to end up being there in the end.
I was trying to think if there's just like someone that's super smoking. Right? Like who's
Yes,
there?
it's the guy that looks like Michael. It's the guy that looks like Michael B. Jordan. I'll tell you. He had like the dreads that were up on top and then over to the side. That's a good looking guy right there.
A good looking guy. Because I felt like, Michelle had like Nate and they're like just in Brandon's eyes, like
also he's also Nate Mitchell is the guy I'm talking about. Electrical engineer. So he's also got a job that pays well. So
yeah. Okay, can we go back to Eric and his smooching?
Yeah, sorry.
Now that you remember Logan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eric.
So Eric. He was one of the first to talk to them both.
Mm-hmm.
And there is like a sense both in the way that they portrayed it on the episode, but also in kind of conversations in our watch party, like, oh, is he like playing them?
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, now he decided, it seems like intentionally, to not kiss Nicole.
Right.
But he did have conversations with them both and was like flirty with them both. Do you think that that's like him playing them, or is he just sort of like meeting the situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's him being calculated and they talked about it, right? But I think he probably has more feelings for Gabby.
Yeah.
I think he's probably more attracted to Gabby. And so had Gabby shot him down, I think he probably would have went and kissed Rachel right away. Right. But I think because Gabby kind of put out the vibe, he jumped for it.
So what's interesting to me is like, I wonder if they're going to like play him as a villain or like, this is like going to kind of come up because he was also really confident. Right. And he was sort of like, oh, I thought I was going to get this rose, which for me was a little bit of a turn up, Yes.
Both
Yeah.
roses. Like that was the issue, you know. It's like he kisses Gabby. I'm like, okay, I can see why you'd be like, well, she kissed me. But Rachel, it's like, why, you know, other than you just had a decent conversation.
Yeah, I sort of felt like, dude, like you're good looking and you had some good banter, but like there's another 31 good looking
Yeah. Well,
guys here. Well, goodish.
28. 28, not counting the two short twins.
So, oh, the poor twins. But like
We'll call it 30. The three of them equal 1.
Yeah, I don't know. On one hand, it seems like a lot of the guys are like, hey, I want to meet both of them and see if I have a connection, more of a connection with one or the other. And so like I think there's like a part of me that's like, that's what you should absolutely do.
Right.
I thought it was interesting that they both gave a first impression rose to a person they kissed, and they hadn't kissed very many people.
Right. So I was gonna make this as my wild card. But let's just drag it in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. There's this whole theory around dating and like how you put yourself out there that's called oh man, I just blanked on the name, but essentially it's the economics of like who you decide to date, how you weigh if you should date this person. And I think in the past you haven't seen it as much with the contestants, not the principal, because the principal kind of gets their choice. But now that we've added 2 principals, the contestants have to start doing the calculation, right? And so I think the hesitancy to just go out and kiss them is because they're playing this out in their mind, and they're like, well, if I kiss Rachel, then do I lose Gabby? If I kiss them both, they're going to talk to each other. Do I lose them both? So on and so forth. And so social exchange theory, that's the name of it, if anyone wants to look it up. And so this kind of goes to what Danielle and I actually do as a job, not just sit on the podcast. Our actual research and being academics is there's no research on if you have a reality television show and you add 2 contestants in, what's the outcome? But there's research around how do people go through this kind of this gamesmanship, you know, and you see it when you're in high school, like with prom. I might ask this person, but I want to know if this person's going to go first. And you can see kind of the same thing playing out. And so, yeah.
I think that it's really interesting having the 2 bachelorettes also because, well, I'm kind of like jumping a little bit. So one of our other concepts that we wanted to talk about is friendship and competition.
Yeah, no, this is great. We're rocking it in this right now. I love it. Yeah.
So,
this is some good we are hitting our podcast stride. You like segued right in, you know.
We've been practicing, you know, not really.
I call you up and I'm like, next concept, get ready.
So this idea that, you know, like I was kind of like, what do we think will happen with their friendship? Are they going to be stronger friends at the end of this? You know, like what's going to happen? But I do think like this is one of the interesting things is normally when you are the lead, you kind of have this power and you don't have to deal with jealousy quite the same way that the contestants do, right? So they might see you making out with multiple people, things like that. This is going to be the first time that the leads can kind of get jealous too and might see somebody that they're interested in forming a connection with someone else. And I think that that's going to be really interesting. I do think that it creates a sort of closer sort of balance in power. And I'm also interested to see how that pans out because there's like some like unspoken rules about like how this show works.
Yes.
And I'm wondering how much this is gonna rock some of that.
And they don't seem like up to this point, the producers have been like, well, we're gonna have it go down this way. It seems like maybe they start to take the reins here. And I have no doubt that if Gabby and Rachel were like seamlessly working and like, well, I like this guy, so I won't get any feelings for him, and that they would start throwing wrenches in the plan just to create chaos. But it looks like maybe chaos happens, you know, without intervention. I don't know. That's a good question. Can you think of anyone that you dated and then they like dated someone you liked, or they dated someone that they knew you liked and you just kind of were like stayed friends with them? I feel like friendships are pretty resilient.
Yeah. I mean, so my like very first kiss, I became friends with
Uh-oh.
him afterwards and I moved,
Uh-huh.
right? And we were still very good friends.
Uh-huh.
And then like my best friend in high school like made out with him.
Uh-huh.
We were cool.
You're cool with it?
Yeah, we were good about
You
it.
think, until
But
this gets out on social media.
I mean, I do think
You
part of
kissed
it is
him.
like, there's probably 3 years between, which in
Yeah.
high school is like a lifetime. So I think that that probably was helpful. I will say, I mean, we're Facebook friends, but I kind of had a falling out with him. Like we remained best friends for a long time, but I kind of had a falling out with him in college. But I still keep in touch with her,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
you know.
I wonder, it probably has to do with the strength of the friendship too. And I know Gabby and Rachel keep saying that they're like best friends, they're best friends, but it's like, how good of friends could you become? Maybe they are, but then also like, how much can you be angry over a relationship that's 2 weeks old, right? Like
Right.
in the end, these really are very like quick relationships. And so how tied could you be? It'd be different if like you had dated someone for 8 years, you broke up, and then a week later they started dating your best friend, or like a month later, it'd be like that's a real betrayal.
Right. Well, and I do think in some ways, while your feelings might still be hurt and maybe you could even feel betrayed, I
Mm-hmm.
do think that I wonder if this circumstance though kind of
Mm-hmm.
like going in, it's just like if you are on this show,
Yeah.
they were both dating Clayton at the same
Yeah.
time,
No, that's a good
you
point. Yeah.
know? So, but I am interested to sort of see how that plays out because I think that that's a new dynamic.
I
Um,
also wonder if they've made any pacts between the two of them, like, hey, all you got to say is like rutabaga, and I won't go after this guy, and then if
I
that gets violated, that's a bigger, it's violating unspoken rules is never in a friendship as big of a deal as violating spoken rules.
I think that they had this like informal way that they were calling dibs.
Oh really? I
Right.
didn't catch it.
It's
Well, you're the
like
communication expert.
when they were when the guys were coming on the limo, they'd be like, "Ooh, I was really attracted to him." And I thought that those were
Ah,
like these little ways
okay.
that they were sort of like, I'm letting you know that I'm specifically interested in him.
Tino was the one I recall with that.
Yeah.
Rachel very clearly was like, he's
Ooh,
mine.
yes.
Yeah.
And I felt like Gabby did that with a couple of them. I don't remember exactly
Mhm.
who right now.
Magician.
But there's like these these little ways that I think that they were kind of letting each other know, hey, I'm really interested in him. Like, I hope that you don't feel that way too,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, and so I think that they're informally kind of already finding little ways to communicate that. It wouldn't surprise me that if they don't have like a secret code, that they wouldn't, as they kind of go
Yeah.
through. Well, and it seems like at some point they do like make the guys sort of decide and they're handing out the roses and like, dude, that's like brutal.
Yeah. Well, I'll be interested to see how that goes down. But if you watch after the episode ends, they do the preview thing, and there's a scene where it looks like at least three guys. Rachel tries to give him a rose, and they're like, "Yeah, so I'm into Gabby."
I mean, on one hand, that would like, oh, it'd be humiliating,
Mhm.
right? Um, and you're like in this position where you're sort of like, oh, as the lead, I don't have to deal with rejection the way that I just did
Yeah.
from Clayton, right? I think that there's this idea that you're kind of protected from some of that rejection. And so like there's this ways that like this rejection is introduced again. So yeah, that'd be humiliating. But at the same time, I would say it'd probably be nice to have that sorted out.
It's probably for the better. Like it probably hurts more in the near term, but in the end, it's way better than being in like the Clayton situation where he's like, I love you, a little less than Susie. If you could just wait till Susie makes her decision.
I love Susie at like a 9.75, and you're like coming in at a strong, just solid 9.
And this is not me bullying Clayton. This is me just stating what Clayton did. And I don't think that there's really any like way, like that's what he did. He was like, I love you, I want you to stay. And he's like, but Susie ain't back.
I hope for Clayton's well-being. He didn't watch last night.
He did. He posted it all over Instagram.
Can you imagine like listening to those kids sing? Somebody was like, those are the same kids that helped him write those letters. If you remember the letter or whatever. Yes. And they're like, oh, yeah, that made me laugh. So, okay, what are your lessons learned? Did you learn anything?
Yeah, that things when you're in 5th grade that you think are cool are not cool to the opposite sex. Magicians, note-taking in church.
Do you think, like, everybody says that they like somebody that's funny, and I do think that people like people that are funny, but I think like ultimately I don't know that I think that like, you know, in 3rd grade I remember being like, oh, everybody like wants like is attracted to somebody that's funny, so I'm gonna memorize 101 vampire jokes. You know?
I love that you had a system.
I did.
And for some reason you were like, not toilet humor, which is what all 3rd graders like, vampire jokes. I think so. I've read some about this because in class I've asked before, like, you know, what would be your ideal mate? You know, everyone says funny, and then it's like, well, let's think about that more, because generalizations are, you know, they lead us down bad, unspecific paths. It's like what people want is someone who makes them laugh. So it's not like a comedian. Like, not everyone wants Jerry Seinfeld. They want somebody who says things that you find funny. And also then, because similar attracts to similar, you can say things that make them laugh, right? I don't think anyone wants to be with someone that makes them laugh and then you tell a joke and they're like, you are not funny at all.
Oh yeah. I definitely tried to memorize those jokes. So I think my lesson learned is that like I really like Gabby.
Yeah, she is funny.
I really like Gabby. She is funny.
Yeah,
she's very funny.
And I can't tell if she's on it, because so Elaine and I talk a lot about this. We know people who are funny intentionally, and we know people who are really funny unintentionally. We have several friends that it's like, I don't even think they know they're being funny. Right. But it's just like the things they say, it's like, oh man, as long as you're in the mood for it, they're and it's like, I can't tell if she knows she's doing it or a little both.
Funny. The thing that's interesting to get about Gabby to me is I think she's pretty bright. Mm-hmm. There are ways when she was on Clayton's season, I felt that she like remember even when she told Clayton off? Yes. Like, she was so, you know, like articulate and was able to sort of express her emotions so concisely. And that you're like, this is a person that understands and sees and observes things and then can express it back.
Yep.
But she's also so ditzy, right? And I feel like and kind of like bitchy, like funny bitchy, you know, in a way that I really appreciate. But I think that you could easily mistake her for someone that's not smart, and I think she actually is. Like, or that she's like learned. I think women in particular are often taught to downplay their intelligence.
Oh yeah.
And that becomes a threat, or that isn't attractive. And so I kind of feel like Gabby is someone that has learned that. But when she wants to turn it on, she can turn it on.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just fun not to say smart things too. I feel like you working in academia, you come home sometimes and you're like, I don't want to talk about smart things. I want to watch Bob's Burgers. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yes. I think that sometimes my rebellion at work is I'm like, I'm gonna embrace being dumb right now, and everybody around me is gonna deal with it because I'm so tired of people performing like intelligence all the time.
I feel like Danielle and I get a good amount of eye rolls when we're in meetings together because we definitely do not align with some of the academic interests in meetings we're in.
Yeah. I will also say though, because of that, I sometimes have to earn credibility.
like flip the switch.
Or yes, like that, like it might take me a little bit longer to convince someone that I'm like not dumb. So yeah, it's fun though. All right. So we've got a city shout out.
How's your French?
Well,
can you do it?
Francais, but like, is it? You're gonna have to tell me.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I can pronounce it.
Go, you got it.
Macron Bourgeon France.
Yep. Of our 1,000,
just like that.
In our 1,069 cities that we have been listened to in, this is one of them, and I couldn't figure out where it is. I couldn't get it highlighted on the map, but it's definitely a French word.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Merci. 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 How do you say merci?
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. All right. The summer is hot, but 2 bachelorettes are hotter.
Bye, everybody.
You have been listening to Bachademia
with your hosts, Danielle Dick McGee,
Kim Hanna,
and Bill Hennig.
All thoughts and opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the person who spoke them.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to the show, leaving a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast.
Also, please share with your family, friends, colleagues, and other ardent Bachelor fans.
If you have comments or questions you would like us to address on the show, you can email us at bachademia@gmail.com.
Or on the Twitter with the handle @Bachademia.
Thanks for listening.